What is up, guys, and welcome to the first ever episode of After the Final Out. I am your host, Corbin Simons, and on today's episode, I will be recapping the chaos that took place on Game 162 around the league, and then afterwards, I'll be going into some playoff predictions and some award predictions. Stay tuned, I'll be back in a moment.
Or here at the stadium. Someone's phone's ringing. Walt Reinheimer. You good? Hey, Walsh, you have to call you back, buddy.
Alright, guys, let's dive into the madness that took place today on October 3rd. And by the way, I am recording this at 7:58 p.m. Sunday night. So the standings are all set. The chaos is over, ladies and gentlemen. We are not getting four-way ties, three-way ties, no nothing. It's all set. Let me dive into what happened here. Let's start with the NL here. For the NL, the only thing that people had to worry about was who was going to win the NL West. As a Dodger fan, as you can clearly tell by some of the merchandise I have and obviously what I'm wearing right now, you know, it was a wild-ass run. Let me just put it that way. We ended today, though, we beat the Brewers 10-3, 10-2-3, so we finished the year with 106 wins, whereas the Giants, they did it, ladies and gentlemen. They beat out the Padres 11-4 today in dominant fashion to secure a 107-win season, which is their franchise record, which is absolutely insane, especially in a year like this where they did, which I'll get into in a moment. But by doing that, that secures them the NL West title. The 8-year streak for the Dodgers is donezo. I mean, we can start it back up next season, but for the time being right now, the Giants are the best of the West right now. But let's talk about the Giants real quick before we obviously dive into the chaos that took place in the AL. Heading into the season, when it came to the NL West, I obviously thought Dodgers, Padres, and when it came to the Giants, I had them as my third best. Diamondbacks, Rockies, throw them out. They're not really doing anything right now. But the Giants, I said they had the potential to get to like an 80-win team, maybe just be 500 or break 500 by maybe 3 to 4 games or something, and potentially battle for the wild card, depending on how that all panned out. Right from the jump, the Giants kind of said, hey, like, we're here. Like, and remind you, not a lot of huge additions before the season, but obviously they added Chris Bryant midseason with a trade with the Cubs at the deadline, and that just kind of just skyrocketed their chances from there on out. When you break it down, when you look at the two teams, Giants and Dodgers, you kind of think for a moment, like, what the hell? You look at the Dodgers, you see a luxurious team with Max Scherzer, Trey Turner, both coming from the trade deadline, Mookie Betts, Justin Turner, Corey Seager. I mean, I can just keep going on and on with that. Whereas when you look at the Giants, it was kind of like a bunch of vets just kind of having career seasons all at once. And obviously it worked out for them. And I will say, for the past 8 years, obviously for the NL West being owned by the Dodgers, it was good to finally have a very competitive year. I mean, I know we had one a few years back. I'm pretty sure, yeah, in 2018, where the Rockies did force a game 163, even though we did win that and secured the NL West. It was kind of good to be on my toes until the final day of the season. Haven't really experienced that for a while. Usually we just kind of cruise through and then see what happens in the playoffs. But big congratulations to the Giants. They did it today. They deserve it no matter what. I mean, the past month, I don't have exact numbers, but I'm pretty sure I heard on a broadcast in a game the other night that the Dodgers, from a certain standpoint, were like 33-17 or something. And then the Giants basically had like the same record, and out of that whole spurt, we only gained like one game on them. But obviously, we were still one back, so absolute madness in the NL. But that was the only chaos today to look out for. Now on the AL side, completely different ball game, literally. I mean, you had Red Sox going up against the Nationals. You had Tampa Bay going up against the Yankees right there. You had Blue Jays going up against the Orioles. You had Angels going up against the Mariners. I'm not going to go in every tiebreaker scenario that we potentially could have faced today. That's just way too many, if I'm being honest. But all I know is that if the Red Sox and Yankees were to lose and Blue Jays and Mariners won their respective games, we were getting a four-way tiebreaker, and I'm pretty sure we've never seen that in MLB history. But to go through these games, Angels, they silenced the Mariners. I got your hat right here. Phenomenal season for them. They finished 90-72. If you were to ask me and a couple other people who obviously follow the sport of baseball, I don't think you would have gotten a lot of people saying that they would be, heading into the final day of the season, being on the brink of a huge-ass tiebreaker that could have gotten them in the postseason, in the wild card game. But this is definitely a team that, after a lot of front office issues, and it's looking like that in the offseason, things might break apart in that team. It's good to see how they finish throughout all the dysfunction and whatnot. But I will say they're a team that I wouldn't doubt it if they're kind of back in it next year. They got a lot of good young talent. A couple vets coming back, hopefully, and yeah, maybe they'll make it work. But they lost to the Angels 7-3 today. Whereas up in Canada, specifically Toronto, they just beat the shit out of the Orioles. Beat them 12-4, and once that was, the game was kind of over before it started, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pretty sure, like, if I remember correctly, by like the third inning, it was like 9-1 or something, and at that point, it was just a home run derby for the Blue Jays. But after seeing that the Blue Jays were going to secure a win, at that point, it was all eyes were on Yankees and the Red Sox. Obviously, the two heated rivals, to where, with how this season has gone, early on, you thought, wow, Red Sox, they're going to run away with it. If I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure they had like an 11-game advantage in comparison, like the second seed, which I'm pretty sure at the time was the Tampa Bay Rays. But those two teams kind of going neck and neck all season. Red Sox started hot, second half kind of, depleted a bit. Yankees didn't start off hot. Second season, they've been skyrocketing, especially ever since they got Bronxy the Turtle in the locker room. Which, hey, might I add, the stat nerds, they are not winning baseball. Yellow jerseys win games, and so do Turtles. Absolutely insane. But, so all eyes were on those games right there. The Nationals, they were up leading 5-1 at one point against the Red Sox. Red Sox hold on to win 7-5, which was the last game in it all. But I will say the one game that I watched a little bit at the end that was kind of, even though I don't root for both teams, especially the Yankees, it was interesting because it could have gone either way, knowing how Tampa Bay has been this season. But Aaron Judge, he delivered in the ninth with a RBI single there to beat the Rays 1-0. Like I said, absolute chaos on the final day. Best way to have it end there, especially for the first 162-game season ever since the 2019 season. Obviously, last season getting only 60 games in the regular season. What a phenomenal way to end it right there. And I'll keep it honest. I waited to record this until majority of the playoffs was kind of set. If I had to talk about a bunch of tiebreakers, then so be it. But what I want to do is kind of give my predictions for the playoffs, which is what I'm about to do in a moment here. But before so, let's kind of just go through where the standings are now heading into the two wildcard games. Let's start off with the National League here. Starting off in the number one spot, we have, like I talked about them earlier, the San Fran Giants. Like I said, unbelievable what they did this year, 107 wins. Who knows? The sky's the limit with them. Winning the NL Central, we do have the Milwaukee Brewers making a lot of noise this season, like they usually have within recent years. But their pitching has been dominant. Their batting is it's the Brewers, for crying out loud. You can't be shocked by that. And then obviously the NL East winner in a very weird division this year. It looked like early on that the Mets were going to do it, and then Braves come back, even after losing Acuna and obviously not having Ozuna for certain reasons for most of the season. Just a weird year for them, but look they made it work. They're back. They're headed to October, ladies and gentlemen. And then the two wildcard teams will be going up against each other this upcoming Wednesday. My Dodgers going up against the St. Louis Cardinals. Might I say about that final wildcard slot, even though I'm talking about the teams that are heading on into October and will make runs for the World Series, for a World Series championship. How the hell did the Padres choke so hard this season? I kind of want to touch base on that, and I'm not here to be, a typical Dodger fan and slander, rivals or whatnot. I was rooting for the Padres this year because I thought it was going to be Dodgers and Padres heading into Game 162 to see who's going to win the NL West, not the San Francisco Giants. Don't get me wrong, makes a better storyline just because no one saw it coming. But Padres for being, they didn't even break 500 this year. And, they fired their manager, Tingler, if I got that name correct, like 2 days ago before the season even ended. I don't understand it. Granted, a lot of injuries, especially with Fernando Tatis Jr., who, of course, is labeled as the face of baseball, however you want to look at it. But once that second half hit, ladies and gentlemen, it just kind of, I don't know if they ran out of juice. And it's funny to see in comparison to last season, obviously, like I said, a 60-game season before playoffs began. Padres were second in the NL West. They were hot all year. People thought they had a opportunity to win the World Series heading into October. Obviously, Wasn't the case. But heading into this season, I did hear from a lot of shows, analysts, and whatnot, of them rumbling of, let's see how they do the second half of the season. Obviously, we saw them from a 60-game sample. Now, with this whole team, especially Tatis Jr. rising up to the occasion, let's see what they do in a full season. And clearly, it showed that they're not just there yet. Of course, once the season ends, I'll be doing a lot of off-season, looking ahead to next season, and obviously I'll be diving into Padres a bunch. But for the time being, it was I guess, I don't want to say a good start just because the expectations were so high. But, you know, I don't know. It's weird. But Padres, I don't know how you blew it. And then obviously the Reds came in contention. They were trying to run away with the second NL wildcard slot. But the Cardinals, I mean, if I remember it correctly, I'm pretty sure a 17-game win streak, which basically clinched it. I've never seen anything like it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm excited for that matchup as a Dodger fan. I don't think it'll be easy at all, just because of, obviously, Max Muncy being out. Even though we do have a loaded team, the Dodgers this season, as dominant as they are, when we go up with a team like the Cardinals, they scream they might give us a little bit of hell right there. So that is 1 through 5 NL playoff standings. Let me dive into the AL before I get into my predictions for the playoffs. Number 1, AL East champ, Tampa Bay Rays. In my opinion, heading into the season, I thought they weren't going to rise to the occasion more so and be number 1 in the AL. I honestly thought they were going to kind of plummet down a little bit in the AL East standings and kind of be like the 3rd, 4th seed that's just kind of raising hell at the end of the year for contending teams. But alas, they're a contending team. They're looking to run it back and get a ring for once. The number 2 slot in the AL, the Houston Astros, AL West champions. Listen here, as much as I hate them, I'll always admit they're a phenomenal team here. I mean, they've made it to the CS since 16 for crying out loud. And they could potentially do it again this year, ladies and gentlemen. They know what's going on. Obviously, with Correa leaving after this offseason, they want to run it back. A lot of last dance vibes going over there, especially with Springer leaving last season and when there was rumors that Brantley was going to leave. It seems like that this Astros somewhat of a partial dynasty era is slowly coming to an end. And I wouldn't doubt it if they just go full-on balls to the wall to make it work this season. And the AL Central champion, the White Sox, they're a team that is dominant as hell. I wouldn't doubt it if they win it all or at least get that far, or even the CS. But they've just been kind of coasting. And granted, you know, the AL Central kind of a pretty weak division this year. I mean, I'm pretty sure they've held like a 10-plus game advantage on like the second place and all the other teams for, I wouldn't doubt it, since like second week of the season, if I'm being honest. But then we finally, after all the chaos, the 2 wildcard teams have been decided for the AL. The Red Sox at Fenway this upcoming Tuesday will be hosting the New York Yankees. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a fan of baseball, you absolutely love those 2 teams playing against each other, especially in such a high-stake matchup. One and done. Whoever pulls up and plays their best baseball, they're moving on to go up against the Rays. And obviously for the NL, they're moving on to go up against the Giants, an absolute powerhouse. So the standings, I love it how they all panned out. If you follow me on Twitter, at Bino Casino, go follow me right now. Looking at this on how my predictions were, I definitely saw Braves, Dodgers. I thought the Cardinals were going to do it, but actually win the division. So I don't know. I guess my early on predictions were pretty good if you've been following them or whatnot. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let me dive right into how I think this October is going to go. Starting with the wild card round, I'm going to start with the AL. I think the Yankees beat the Red Sox. Of course, Red Sox, it's at Fenway. Fenway, a tough place to play at. But the Yankees, I mean, look at what they've done the past couple series against the Red Sox. I mean, Giancarlo Stanton has just been out of his mind he just absolutely nuclear. Don't know how it's happening right now. But they're making it work, ladies and gentlemen. And the Yankees, obviously, when they hear those 2 words combined, Red Sox, they know what it means. They know it's personal. So I wouldn't doubt if Yankees go in there and just have an absolute field day up against whoever's pitching for the Red Sox, which I don't know at this current moment. Yankees, they go on to advance to the DS against the Rays, which is a divisional series rematch from last year. I know I'm taking the Dodgers. This isn't any bias issue or whatever. I'm someone, when it comes to my favorite teams, Dodgers, Clippers, Rams, all mid if bias is a part of it, but this isn't. I mean, just look at the streak they're going on right now, and I mean, have been on all season. I mean, a 106-win team that's in the wild card, for crying out loud. It still pisses me off seeing that the best team in the league is, of course, the other team in the NL West, the Giants. But it's like, I guess this is kind of a free win. Is it a free win to start off the postseason? I hope I didn't just jinx. Let me knock on some wood or something real quick to, get the juju kind of in line. But no, yeah, Dodgers, I'm taking them to beat the Cardinals. Mad Max on the bump. He's screaming, it's over. He's going to get in that little psycho mind of his and just wipe it out. I'm predicting Yankees beat Red Sox 5-3. Dodgers beat Cardinals 5-1. And Mad Max pitches 8 innings. So let's move on to the DS, the divisional series, starting with the AL, of course. Let's start off with that number 1 versus 5 matchup, Rays versus Yankees. I'm taking the Yankees. I think they're getting revenge on last season. And like I said, guys, they have been on a tear lately, especially after getting Bronxy the Turtle. The stat nerds, they can't explain that. I can't explain it, but the Yankees can. And you know how they are going to explain it, ladies and gentlemen? By moving on to the CS, for crying out loud. I'm going to put it in, a 5-game series, which might I add, MLB, please switch it to every series being best out of 7 and change the wild card. Best out of 5, maybe? Best out of 3. Best out of 3 seems a hell of a lot better for the wild card. So yeah, I'm taking that the Yankees beat them in the DS 3-1. Why not? A pretty dominant fashion right there. Moving on to the other series here, Astros versus White Sox. All season long, I have been anticipating this playoff matchup. I honestly think it's going to be one to where, whether or not you're a fan of both of these teams, you're going to be super glued to the TV watching it. This just screams to me 1-game pitching duel, next day home run derby for both teams, and then the next couple games, it's just a free-for-all. Do whatever you want at this point. But with that being said, I'm taking the Astros. I'm sorry, Chicago. The White Sox, I've been high on you guys all season long. But the more the Astros get deeper in the playoffs, the more that Astros pack gets hella stiff for me, ladies and gentlemen. And I need that Astros pack. So yeah, I think Astros are taking it. Like I said, they've been here. They know how to get to the CS, even the World Series. Whether or not how long that they've been cheating, I'll give them credit where credit's due, because last season, at one point, they were 1 game away. They were 4 wins away from making the World Series again. 1 game away from, getting bounced out. And then they went to tying it up, winning 3 straight. Granted, they lost in Game 7, but they were only 1 win away from advancing to the World Series. So it's like, they know how to make it work. I wouldn't doubt it if we just get a shit ton of highlights of Carlos Correa just sending balls left, right, left, right, left, right, even one in the center, for crying out loud. I'm taking Astros beat the White Sox. Give me the 3-2 series. I think this is going to be a nail-biter all throughout. Moving on to the National League. That 1-4 matchup, ladies and gentlemen, Giants versus Dodgers. It scares the hell out of me, because even though the series matchup was only 10-9 in the regular season against those two teams, obviously Giants have the advantage there. The Dodgers going against the Giants is kind of like a little bit of a kryptonite, it seemed to me, in certain games. Obviously some games with blown saves by Kenley Jansen. Obviously the one game where the first base he called it a ball and everything. The one with Cody Bellinger throwing it near the stands. Trey Turner to Will Smith. This is a series to where if the Giants pulled it off and the Dodgers lost most of the 3 games in chaotic fashion, I wouldn't doubt it. I'd be like, well, kind of explains this season to a certain extent, where we could beat everybody. When it comes to the Giants, they have our number a little bit. But with that being said, I'm a loyal individual, and I know they can do it because they are coming off a World Series victory, as you can see right here and as you can see right there. They're going to run it back, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to beat the Giants 3-2. It's going the full lengths right there. Moving on, we got Brewers going up against the Braves. This is a series where I can see either team winning. I'm taking the Brewers personally, because I think that pitching for them is kind of a huge X factor. Clearly, it's been shown throughout the regular season. Woodruff, Burns in your starting rotation, Freddie Peralta as well. It does hurt them that Devin Williams will be out, though, after punching something while they celebrated their NL Central title. But I'm taking the Brewers. I think they can outlast the Braves in a best 3 of 5. And I'm going to say I'm going with a sweep. Why not? The Brewers, they're going to be the first team to head to the CS. They're going to be waiting. They're going to be watching Dodgers Giants, which will be primetime television. So heading into the CS, we have Dodgers going up against the Brewers, NL side. And AL, we have Astros going up against the Yankees. I'm going to start with my AL prediction, ladies and gentlemen. They're the team that I've been saying has been there for years straight. Clearly, they're going. In my eyes, they're going there again this year, and they're going back to the World Series, the Houston Astros. It pains me to say this, ladies and gentlemen. It pains me. It truly fucking does. But where I'm going at with this, it'll all make sense. I'm pretty sure you guys, with how I look, what I have here, and how I've been talking, you know where I'm going at with this. But the Astros, I think they're beating the Yankees because it's only good for the world to be balanced when the Yankees are just getting completely screwed out of just, getting screwed out back in 17 and 18, and then, 17 and 19. Yes. Mix up my years. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. But it is very on brand for them to go into a CS against the Astros again and just get whooped. I'm not saying it's going to be an ass beating. I think it's going to be a little bit of, a slugfest from both sides. But I'm taking Astros in 6. They're going on to the big dance. Who will they be going up against, Milwaukee or the Dodgers? They're the best team in the league, ladies and gentlemen. The Los Angeles Dodgers. I'm taking them. It's going to be a rematch of 2017, which, and I guess after the whole scandal is broken out, it'll be on an even playing field now. I'm going Dodgers and Astros. I've been saying it since the middle part of the season. Early on, before the season began, I said Dodgers, White Sox, just because those, in my eyes, were the 2 best teams in the league heading in the season. So I thought, all right, might as well just have them going up against each other in the big dance at the end of October. But after just a lot of revelations on the Astros, just kind of talking to myself, saying that, they are a team that you cannot fuck with, I think it's going to be a rematch. And with that being said, the Dodgers will beat the Astros in 5. Trey Turner will win World Series MVP. I mean, if you've seen his numbers ever since he's joined the Dodgers from the Nationals, absolutely insane. I mean, that trade is still absolutely insane. That all we wanted to get heading into that deadline was Max Scherzer, and we left with Trey Turner and Max Scherzer, for crying out loud. I think it's going to be, that when it comes to the Dodgers, I honestly think that this is going to be the decade where we kind of shine a lot. Granted, we have been in the mix for, obviously, 8 years, winning the NL West 8 straight years. This year, we're heading in as a wild card slot. A couple CS appearances, a couple World Series appearances, obviously a World Series championship. I think with this team, and after all the trades that they've kind of have conformed or whatnot, and with the young talent we have, we're going back-to-back. First time that any team has gone back-to-back since the Yankees in the early 2000s, for crying out loud. Obviously, there's a lot of parity amongst baseball. But with that being said, too, even though my prediction is Dodgers being the Astros, I would not be shocked if we get like a Giants versus White Sox World Series matchups. Giants versus Astros. I wouldn't doubt it if the Yankees go all the way. Hell, I wouldn't even doubt it if the Red Sox do either. When it comes to the AL, it's kind of as wide open as ever. And when it comes to the NL, I feel like you have the Giants and Dodgers, and it kind of helps the other teams that they would be potentially going up against each other in DS to kind of eliminate the other one real quick. But, I mean, the Cardinals just got off a 17-game win streak, if I have that correct. They could do it again this postseason and just win out, for crying out loud. It's crazy times in baseball, ladies and gentlemen. It's crazy. But my Dodgers, hopefully we're holding this up end of October, beginning of November, whichever day they want to finish on. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to kind of wrap up the show. This is kind of a shorter episode, obviously as the first one, but obviously as this show progresses, they will get much longer in time. So let me start off with the AL awards here. Starting off with my MVP, obviously a big controversial topic this year. I'm going with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Obviously, as you see, he is right there in Funko form. He is personally my favorite player in the league right now. Has a .311 average, finished off the season, 47 home runs, 109 RBIs, a .997 OPS. And when it comes to the debate of him or Shohei, don't get me wrong, Shohei, phenomenal season, and obviously doing it from on both sides of the ball. We haven't seen shit like that since the 1900s, for crying out loud. But to me, MVP, you got to give it to someone who contributed to their team. And don't get me wrong, Shohei has contributed to his team, but to see where those team has gone. The Angels, they have kind of been out of it ever since the season began. I don't think anyone thought that the Angels were going to be anything to worry about this year. The Blue Jays, there is some potential. Of course, their pitching was kind of the huge question mark. They knew that they had batters with Vlad, Bichette, Springer coming in after the offseason, Simeon, Teoscar Hernandez, and so many more phenomenal hitters on that team. The pitching was the question mark. Obviously, they made it all the way to Game 162, won their Game 162, and just wished out that the Nationals could help out, but clearly they didn't there. And, I mean, Vlad, he's been in the, even though he didn't get it, but he's been in the running for the Triple Crown all year. He's been, like, top 10 in every hitting stat. It's absolutely insane. So I think when you kind of break it down like that, and granted, Shohei Ohtani, after I looked at it, if it was the wrong stat, I'm going to be pissed at myself. But he didn't even break 100 RBIs last I checked. I just don't know how that's MVP. I just don't know. Don't get me wrong, he's definitely second on my list, but I think Vladdy, when you break down the stats, see the type of season that he's had in comparison to others, and see how he's helped the Blue Jays, you know, you got to give it to him there. Moving on to the Cy Young Award, it's going to Toronto. It's going to be a weird Toronto award season for the AL. I'm picking Robbie Ray. It was hard. I was going up against him or Garrett Cole. Robbie Ray, though, some stats I kind of point out: 13 wins, a 2.84 ERA, 248 strikeouts, and 23 quality starts. Number one in a lot of those statistics, ladies and gentlemen. But Robbie Ray obviously has been in the league for quite some time. Started off with the Tigers, Diamondbacks, and obviously now on the Blue Jays. He was kind of the forefront of their pitching, and like I said, that heading into the season, their pitching was the huge question mark of that team. And don't get me wrong, especially their relief pitching, have blown so many games for them. I mean, they would probably be in the playoffs if it wasn't for a lot of those blown saves. But I think Robbie Ray, having him as the leading guy, and he carried through, has just been phenomenal all year long. I think he's definitely deserving of it. Garrett Cole as well. I put in a lot of the whole. I mean, granted, we don't know everyone who's been using sticky substances this year, but of course, Garrett Cole, he kind of had a huge meltdown off of that, and then obviously had a couple games after, once this substance ban policy was put in attack. You know, he slumped. He was on slump watch a little bit, as John Boy Media would say. Shout out John Boy. But he's been kicking ass ever since, and so that's why I was kind of up in the air, but I'm picking Robbie Ray. I like the story, especially Toronto. Rookie of the Year, I'm picking Adolis Garcia. .244 average, 31 home runs, 90 RBIs, 16 stolen bases, and a .746 OPS, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, with the Rangers, he ain't really doing shit down there. I mean, obviously he's doing a lot, but the team isn't doing anything. It is funny to think that he was on the Cardinals at one point before getting traded, so it would be interesting to see him on this lineup if he were to make it, of course, in the outfield, if he did stay there. But I've been high on Adolis Garcia all season long. I mean, just watching him, he's a clean hitter, hits for power, for crying out loud. He can obviously run it on the bases, 16 stolen bases, that's good to me. And just look him up, look at his game stats, it's phenomenal all the way around. And it's weird because a lot of people, I like to look at other analysts, see what the type of awards, they're giving out and stuff, seeing who they're labeling as Rookie of the Year. What the hell is with the Randy Arozarena? MLB has to fix the classification of a rookie. Randy Arozarena won Rookie of the Year for so many analysts out there, and the dude has broken rookie records, for crying out loud, in the World Series. So it's like, I don't understand that. But Adolis Garcia, the stats were better than all the other rookies I was looking at. I said, all right, Adolis, you proved me right at the beginning of the season. You're MVP. You're Rookie of the Year for the AL. Let's move on to the NL to wrap up the show here. Starting off with the MVP, I honestly have a question mark, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know who to pick. I feel like whoever does get it is definitely going to be deserving of it, but it's weird how you would, tell that to the other individuals up for the award. You got Fernando Tatis Jr., you got Juan Soto, you got Bryce Harper. I can throw in Max Muncy, Trey Turner for how he's been. And I can just throw in a bunch of other names from the NL. I didn't know who to really pick, if I'm being completely honest there. So question mark there. Whoever wins that, congrats to you. Cy Young Award, Max Scherzer, 15 wins, 2.46 ERA, 236 Ks. you look at him, and of course people were saying, oh, but he switched teams, but he didn't switch leagues, ladies and gentlemen. Still stayed consistent. Yes, his last 7 days have not been pretty to him whatsoever. I think he has like an 8.4 ERA in the past week. Not great whatsoever, but Max Scherzer wins my Cy Young Award. And Rookie of the Year, Jonathan India of the Cincinnati Reds. .269 average, 21 home runs, 69 RBIs, 12 stolen bases, and a .834 OPS. Kind of started off slow, but once that second half came up after the All-Star break, dude went to the moon. Obviously, the Reds tried making a playoff run. I thought it was going to happen. I wish it was going to happen. I love the Reds this year, but it didn't pan out there. So those are my award recipients. Vladdy, MVP in the AL. AL Cy Young Award winner Robbie Ray, Rookie of the Year in the AL, Adolis Garcia. MVP, give it to whoever. I don't give a shit. It is too chaotic over there. Cy Young Award in the NL, though, Max Scherzer, and NL Rookie of the Year, Jonathan India. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 1 of After the Final Out. I don't really know which days I'll be posting these shows on. Since it's playoffs, they'll kind of be dispersed here and there. So stay tuned to that. Subscribe for more on the E.W.B.A. production show. Check out the 5th Quarter, the football show hosted by me, John, and the Guru. With all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, it's October baseball. Let's get ready.